Welcome to Mattowarrior's Metal Madness. And I am your host, Mattowarrior. Today is a very special episode, as it is the first interview I'm doing on the podcast with Damien Cage, who is the leader of a band that is rising in the true metal community called Haxör Stava. And I was honored to and privileged to do this interview. I think it went very well. I did get another offer to interview another band. I felt that they didn't fit the format of this podcast. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm adverse to interviewing certain types of subgenres in the future, but I primarily think that the stuff that I'm passionate about would be easier to deal with than something that it's like Ricky Rackman, when he was interviewing like some third, and I'm not calling these bands third rate. I'm just using this as an allegory or kind of a comparison. When he was interviewing all these bands, like I don't know, Danger has a kind of a cult following now, but this is like third rate like hair metal bands. And he's just like rolling his eyes and just like looking at the camera all weird. He's like, oh yeah, how's the new album going? And then he interviews Danzig and he's like, Danzig, Ricky Rackman on the old Headbangers Ball. So I feel like to be more genuine, I cannot interview bands of genres that I don't really dig that much. To me, it's counterproductive just to do that just for... Oh, well, you interviewed Chad Kroger. Actually, that would be kind of hilarious anyways. I don't care. I'm just thinking of like the worst example. Or you interviewed Five Finger Death Punch, which actually they have some cool solos, but what are you gonna ask them? Like, I don't know, But anyways, I'm going to probably have Damien on in the future. I think it went very well. I'm going to try to get some other interviews in the forthcoming weeks. So you can watch out for that. And I'm going to stick with stuff that is in my territory, so. And now, as people that listen to this are used to, it's time for the news with the Cordy news music. Of course, I go to Blabbermouth for this, and, even though I've had my differences with Bori over the years, to be quite honest, and his sensationalist... anyways, so let's go to the top here. It says, see Ozzy Osbourne in Youngblood's The Funeral Video. I have no idea who Youngblood is. Then there's another headline that says that. Why twice? Oh, two appear. Oh, okay. I don't know. Who the hell is Youngblood? Let's see. Sepultura's Andreas Kisser says Brazil has the worst president ever. He is worse than Trump. I'm not going to get into politics there. Hearts and Wilson says a band is harder to keep together than a marriage. It gets pretty weird at times. But sometimes people can reconcile too. Without giving too much away, I'm actually involved with a project right now that there will be some familiar people or some familiarities to some people, depending on what. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but people that know who I have, what bands I've been in the past and stuff. I'll just say that. That's speaking of reconciling. Doro Pesh. Receiving a bullet with Lemmy's ashes inside was one of the most intense moments of my life. Wow, that's pretty crazy that he put that in his will. Slipknot, nah. Where did I go? Oops. Slash says it's surreal being father of 19-year-old rock drummer. Okay. Tesla, new video. Okay. Or lyric video. Let's see. Toilet shaped like Metallica's Lars Ulrich, acquired by Danish Museum. That thing was like a total meme for a while on social media, and I'm glad they got that that toilet. That shit was hilarious. Kid Rock's bad reputation. Speaking of hilarious, to be released or something like that. Metal Lords, a heavy metal coming of age film trailer, Netflix. Yeah. So the problem I have with I'm just gonna call it establishment takes on metal. Do I believe? Okay, what do I mean by the establishment? Okay, people probably wonder what I mean by that. I'd have to go into all this stuff as far as what I believe the establishment is, but basically, I'll just put it this way: when the establishment does something about metal, it turns out really mediocre and hammy and cheesy and not accurate some of the time. And that's the problem with some of that. Like, you watch a movie that has metalheads, quote unquote, and they like not Michael Bolton, but they like, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. Especially I think Wayne's World and Beavis and Butthead, Bill and Ted, they sort of get things right. Airheads, Airheads definitely does, because they have, say, Lemmy as God or whatever. I think that comes from that. So some of these establishment takes, the Lords of the Lords of Chaos movie? I never saw that. I refused to watch it. Just a lot of things like that. Just when there's a TV show with a quote unquote metalhead or something like that, or Saved by the Bell might have a metalhead in it or something, and then they'll play the fake metal music, and it'll be this bad hard rock or something. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but do I trust this not Lords of Chaos? Do I trust this Metal Lords movie will be any good? I don't know. We'll see, though. I could be surprised, but it's a Game of Thrones person. It's what? Original Kiss members Ace Frehley and Peter Criss performed together at Creatures Fest in May. Oh, I didn't know Peter Criss was performing. I thought he had retired. Well, we heard that before from from his former bandmates too. Miss May I, no idea. Slayer, Kerry Kane says Judas Priest deserves to be in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think people should. Someone should shit on stage like G.G. Allen and throw it at the people that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know. Def Leppard to appear in Netflix movie The Bank of Dave. No idea. Rammstein, Korn. Yeah, there's a lot of Korn on this because this is Roadrunner. Blabbermouth used to be a subsidiary of Roadrunner Records, don't forget. So they still kind of focus on those types of bands. Absent and Body. Oh, Neurosis and Sepultura. Oh, that's interesting. Founding Spudge guitarist dead. Sad. Poison's Bret Michaels leads all-star cast of performance at Florida's concert with a purpose. No idea what that is. I'm not going to go into that. I'm not really. I don't think it's wrong necessary to say that I'm not the biggest fan of Poison. I don't know. Alexis on Fire. It sounds like some kind of metalcore something. No idea. Lamb of God members trade insults. You are a fucking douche on Twitter. I'd never been. Let's see. I want to look this up actually. Let's see what this says. What? I'm going to read it out. I'm going to read this. It's funny. And I'm not going to get into the politics of it because it looks like it is political. Unfortunately, like a lot of things are now. Adler's comment apparently prompted by Morton's revelation that the guitarist was blocked on Twitter by Lee J. Carter, the American politician who represented 50th District in Virginia, House of Delegates from 2018 to 2022. But why? Maybe because you're a fucking douche. I usually wait. I don't know. It's just some bullshit that I don't know. They're not getting along or something. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not like a huge. I'm just not into the music that much of Lamb of God. I think they're good. Like, they're talented, but it's not really my thing, honestly. A lot of that stuff, I can listen to like 3 or 4 songs, and then I can, then I'll be like, oh yeah, that's enough, But I mean, and contrast that with, which is weird because I really like the first 2 Exorder albums, and I even like the new one. So I don't know what it is about some of the groove metal stuff, or like White Zombie, back in the day, the first, or not the first White Zombie, albums before Laissez Sixtro, the sexy, I can't even pronounce it. I like some of that stuff, but I just can't, and I even like some of the early Phil albums by Pantera, Phil Anselmo era, but it's just like, and Machine Head, the Blackening was kind of cool, and there's some stuff I do like, but I'm not like a huge fan of groove metal. It just doesn't do it for me. But Amon Amarth, I'll go on here. Amon Amarth's Johan Hegg clarifies his criticism of UFC, says it's fair to target Russian fighters with sanctions. Okay, so I'm just going to clear this up here. I'm not going to try to get political on this subject. I have plenty of other outlets for that, which I may or may not share on this podcast one day. Here's what I think. I'm going to give a sort of point of view where let me try to think about this. So I think it's if there's someone that's Russian that moved to the United States, or there's someone that's Russian that's not affiliated with their government, I think this is wrong-headed. Now, if they're affiliated with the Russian government, I understand sort of where he's coming from. I don't want to comment on what I think about that stuff on this podcast, but let's just say I'll give a clue that I do not think with the conventional wisdom of everybody else. That does not mean I like what I just said, that I'd be saying something different. If I'm not going to go into what I think about that, because it's very complicated. It's a very complicated situation, way more complicated than people on either side, quote unquote, will realize, without getting into too much crazy shit, which I'm not going to get into. Nightwish's Flora Jansen releases solo single. Yeah, haven't really heard it. Don't know. Bruce Dickinson says Iron Maiden has no plans to retire. Will probably drop dead on stage. That's kind of a cool comment. Hopefully not in bad circumstances, because of what's going on in the world. Eric Gretz on next Stone Temple Pilots album. It's going to be the hardest record we've ever had, my guess. How hard is it going to be? Is it going to be like Incantation or Bolt Thrower or something? Like, is it going to be that heavy? It's Stone Temple Pilots. I highly doubt it. I'm not laughing at them. I'm just saying, like, how heavy can you be? Like, what's with that style of music? It's like, I mean, I like grunge and stuff, or whatever you want to call it. But how heavy can you be? It's the hardest album we've ever done. For you, maybe. Arch Enemies, Jeff Loomis partners with Jackson for new signature guitar. Okay. Well, what happened to, what was it? Was it not BC Rich? God, what was that company called? I almost bought one of the 7-strings. Anyways, Lizzie Hale says meeting her idol Ann Wilson for her first time was exciting. They have 2 pictures that look very similar that Bori dug up. That's actually pretty creative. Motor Sister featuring Anthrax, Fates Warning, ex-White Zombie members. What? Well, this is interesting. Okay. That's actually kind of interesting. So these supergroups a lot of times leave much to be desired, unfortunately, unless you're talking about like the classics, like Led Zeppelin was considered a supergroup because of all these session members and people that had been in other bands and stuff. But it's like usually it kind of just something isn't right. It looks like Scott Ian, Mother Superior member, the daughter of Meatloaf, Joey Vera, John Tempesta. Wasn't he in White Zombie as well? I thought they said. I thought that was the bass player of White Zombie. Oh, that sucks. Okay, I guess they have a new album. I thought Meatloaf's daughter was she looks a little like, she has the same hair as Sean. I can't even pronounce her last name. I forgot how to. I have brain damage from my job for 10 years, over and over again. Wayne Kramer brings MC5 to life with new album and tour. Cool. My Chemical Romance. I don't even think I've heard a whole song by them. Queensryche used real amps and vintage equipment during recording of upcoming album. Yeah, it's cool, but is it going to be great? I don't know. I like the first, I like the Todd Reich stuff. I'll call it Todd Reich, but Jeff Tate's been doing some cool tours and stuff, and he's been kind of redeeming himself. He's in a redemption arc, as they call it, because he hasn't been as much of a douche in interviews, and like he seems a lot more level-headed now than he was like 5-10 years ago. And he's even been doing some metal albums, not the greatest albums, but like some cool stuff. I think he could, if he got together with DeGarmo and did a new Queensryche, Jeff Tate's Queensryche. That's why we tried that before, I guess. Just don't do that post grunge, like sort of halfway to metal stuff, like on the last few Queensryche he was on, or the Verdict. Not the Verdict. What the hell was it called? The Fuck You album or whatever. FU, Frequency Unknown. And it just was like this post-grunge. It's just like he's obsessed with the post-grunge era with his music, but like tries to do like some pretentious like proggy stuff, like in the midst of like sort of at the same time with the songs. Like tries to do some like Roger Waters like wordy kind of concept albums with like post-grunge, and the producers and the people he works with. I mean, I know, okay, you could be friends, what's his name, who is mostly guitars on Operation Mindcrime 2, actually, probably. These producers he was working with, I forgot the guy's name, but those Jeff Tate Queensryche albums, when he took over the band after, way after Chris DeGarmo quit, because it's kind of like I don't know. But like the ones basically Jeff Tate solo albums, those ones were pretty bad. And then also the producer he works with, I just think he needs a good producer, because Tobias Sammet, Avantasia, he had him on his albums. He sounded phenomenal. He had Jeff Tate on his on Avantasia albums. So I think working with a good producer and a co-songwriter, he could probably churn out a return to form. Like even have Chris DeGarmo, who wants rather fly planes, nowadays, come back and help write a couple songs. It would be cool, and maybe even get Scott Rockenfield. But actually, that ship has sailed too, because he's kind of gone off the reservation too. So, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nine Inch Nails, Slipknot, and Kiss, the headline Louder Than Life 2022 festival. Don't know those festivals. It's kind of boring. I've seen most of those bands before. I'm just like, yeah, okay. Phil Campbell performed Motorhead songs. Oh, okay. Henry Rollins. I'm not going to go over that. Alex Lifeson's Envy of None project releases music video. I haven't even heard that. Actually, I'm interested in hearing that. I may actually, not going to play it on the podcast, but I'm actually interested in that. Triumph documentary coming out. Ann Wilson. Head P. I'm going to call my band Head P. Oh, man, Head P. They're still around. I don't think I remember what they sounded like, but yeah, it's cool. People are still, I'm gonna say this, like some of these new metal, NU metal bands from the 90s, if they're still around and doing stuff and like they're just trying to do their things, like I have respect for that, because even though it's never been my thing, I think it's cool that they're continuing to do that stuff. Like if they want to do it, as long as they like don't sell out, if they're still playing like the same type of music and stuff, I have respect for that. Deftones part ways with longtime bassist. Okay. Speaking of new metal, Kitty, Amon Amarth, more stuff. He blasts USC for failing to brand Russian fighters. Well, why are you going to make the people of a country the victim of what their leader does? I mean, just imagine. I'm just going to put this out there. I'm not trying not to be political, but I'm just trying to make this point. You may disagree with me. You can if you want. Are you going to make the people of a country? And I don't know how much the UFC, like the Russian fighters, are affiliated with the Russian government or not. But are you really considering making the people the victims of their leader? Or it's like, just like if a country banned American like during the Iraq War, like if France said no American tourists or no American fighters because Bush is in there, it's like, and maybe that's not a good comparison, but it's just like it's so dumb that it's the citizens, the people that are working to bring you your wealth in these countries, and America included, are the ones that suffer under these things a lot of times more than the leaders. It's just like, the people are the pawns of the rich and the powerful. So why are you gonna punish them? How is that gonna help things, making them suffer? Anyways, that's a little bit too soapboxy for this podcast, but oh well. It's a generalized statement. That's all about that. Iron Maiden's Nico McBrain performs Wasted Years, Adrian Smith and Richie Kotzen. Oh, okay, that's cool. That was in London. Interesting. Lacuna Coil, I'm not going to go into that. I guess that became political, even though it's supposed to not be. Pat Travers, no idea. Metallica's Battery. Metallica does Battery at Las Vegas Stadium. Skid Row and Warrants announced Live to Rock Spring Summer 2022 tour. I was watching a documentary. This guy, God, what is his name? I will probably try to get an interview with him. He's a YouTuber. He does these metal documentaries that are just amazing. And he did a one on Warrant, and it was like, okay, Warrant, okay, right. I mean, back when I was growing up, that was, people laughed at him. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. But I learned a lot from watching this documentary. Now, I don't like how they used different guitarists for their leads on their first two albums. But that aside, there's some good stuff. I mean, Janie Lane wrote all the songs. They didn't have outside songwriters like a lot of hair bands would, or quote unquote hair bands did. He was playing this YouTube dude that did these documentaries. Also played some of their newer stuff. I was like, wow, that kicks ass. I might actually check it out, like one of their newer albums. Skid Row, on the other hand, I'm not not really familiar with their later stuff. I think people I don't like the idea of the Dragon Force dude being the singer. I don't think he fits the style, the former Dragon Force dude. But I don't know. They can prove me wrong with other stuff. So let's see what's going on. Rammstein, Thrice. David Lee Roth had a skincare line. I remember reading about that. I was laughing. I guess he closed the doors. So I guess it was to help tattoos or something. Like he was obsessed with tattoos. AC/DC beer, ale. This is a funny thing to mention about AC/DC. I see them as like I see them to be the musical equivalent of beer. And if you kind of imagine what I'm talking about, I think you'd probably agree. It's like they have this I see it as I have synesthesia, so I see colors in music. I think of them as kind of light brown, like beer, and I think about beer, and it's like this late night, listen to Hell's Bells, for example. It's like driving in the middle of a winter in a northern state or place with snow in the middle of the night to get to this bar and drinking a beer. That's what Hell's Bell, this weird remote bar. That's the imagery that I get with listening to Hell's Bells. Goes to sponsor NASCAR Xfinity driver Bailey Curry. Okay. Overkill tour. I see them. They're great. I think I saw them twice. Terror announces new album. Porcupine Tree. Ghosts. Tobias Forge on Mike Pence's Pursuit of Power. It's one of the most evil things I've ever seen. I thought you're supposed to like evil, if you're in a band like Ghost. What's wrong with evil? I don't know. It's just weird. I guess he's trying to do a political song about that. But yeah, it's weird that I don't think Mike Pence is that powerful as far as politics. He's pretty laughed at by a lot of the base of that, of that party, just because he's been kind of, I mean, it depends on who you're talking about. It's a weird subject to talk about. And, I might agree with some of the stuff Tobias is saying about that. I'm just saying it's just a kind of a weird choice to talk about. I guess you have to write about something, right? It's just like, I don't think Mike Pence is on everybody's lips right now. This is more like, that's what I mean. Like, oh, Mike Pence. It's kind of like, I remember this interview with Glenn Danzig. He's asked about like the worst world leaders, and he mentions Khrushchev for some reason. It's like, okay, Khrushchev is probably, he did a lot of bad stuff, but it's like, your first choice would be Stalin. Like, why would you talk about Khrushchev? Like, it was like kind of oddball. Graham Bonnet Band. There's enough politics for this podcast. I'm not a fan of Khrushchev or Stalin, by the way, or Mike Pence for that matter. Graham Bonnet Band to release Day Out in Nowhere album. Okay, that's cool. Bruce Dickinson on how his singing technique has changed over the years. Yeah. Well, I think Iron Maiden needs to dig in their catalog a little more like Judas Priest does. Generation Kill, I think that's some Exodus thing. ZZ Top announces Raw album, spring, summer 2022 U.S. tour dates. That would be a cool show to see, and maybe I'll go see that. So ZZ Top, Raw. Okay, that's their new album. Why didn't they make the obvious choice and call it Raw Dog? That would have been a better album title, Raw Dog. ZZ Top, Raw Dog. Do some kind of like innuendos in the song about raw dog in it, Speaking of innuendos, speaking of ZZ Top, I have a little bit of anecdotal story about ZZ Top, and I think I'm going to get to that interview because I'm kind of running out of things to talk about that are relevant on this news section, because there's not really anything that's more interesting. I'm trying to look for more. Just a bunch of stuff, and then except for the Nikki Sixx Eddie Vedder thing, because I just think it's going to be hilarious for years to come. And I actually may skip ahead and talk about that because it's funny. I have a relative who at least claimed that back in the day he had an experience, quote unquote, with a groupie that was a ZZ Top groupie, and he wasn't in a band. The relative I'm talking about. Well, he was in a band, but I'm giving too much away. Oh, I don't know. There was a relative that may or may not have been in a band that back in the day he had an experience, quote unquote, with a ZZ Top groupie who was also was involved with somehow tangentially with the Plaster Casters. I don't remember the story exactly. He's told it several times, but like, I don't know the detail. I didn't ask for details when he told me the story, like back in the day. So that's about all for that part. But let's see. So I'm gonna go down and skip all this political stuff and Kanye West, and so this Nikki Sixx had his war of words with Eddie Vedder. If you take a swipe at my band, I'll take a swipe at your band. So just to clear this up, Eddie Vedder is a total establishment, guy. Like, I hate the establishment. Okay, I'm just gonna say I hate the establishment. All right, that's pretty much my politics. No, not necessarily, but pardon me. I'm drinking coffee at the same time I'm doing this. So I think Eddie Vedder has this image of this clean cut, almost like Bruce Springsteen or John Bon Jovi, of the grunge thing. It's just so annoying, annoyingly obnoxious. It's so safe and almost like milk toast in a way. He's not milk toast physically, but it's just this thing that's really safe. And then Nikki Sixx has this commercial, mind you, image of this bad boy dude and stuff, and it's just hilarious to see this dichotomy between these two guys, both in their 50s or 60s or whatever, going at each other in the press. It's why? It's And the thing about Nikki Sixx, or the thing about Eddie Vedder, is that he's pretty. I mean, the grunge era was painful for metal. Not only like hair metal. The thing is, I was like, oh, like Henry Rollins once said, oh, Nevermind by Nirvana killed the hair metal thing. No, it did more than that. It's like if you take and pardon the subject matter considering what's going on right now, but if you took a nuclear bomb to aim at this one building, let's say you bombed one building, you were trying to take out one building with like the what is it called, the little man or big boy or whatever, the in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, those nuclear bombs. Let's say you're only aiming for one building full of this one like army contingent. You're going to still have collateral damage, obviously. So the alternative grunge thing did not only kill. Oh, this is pretty morbid subject matter. Oh well. And I'm not trying to say like that this is on the level of nuclear bombs that grunge coming about as far as like hurting people's. Well, people did have the fallout from that. Speaking of fallout, which I should play some of the newer games. I've only played the first one. The fallout and the collateral damage from the grunge alternative thing did not only affect hair metal or glam. I mean, Iron Maiden was playing clubs, basically, like maybe small theaters. I saw them in 1995. Judas Priest, the same. Bands like that were on these smaller labels, and it was a bad time. I mean, you were kind of an outcast if you said you liked metal. And people don't really understand that. And it's not metal as in like hair metal. It's like when you're, I know the Janie Lane interview. Speaking of Janie Lane, when he said that notoriously, like he went to the Columbia Records office, and they used to have a cherry pie poster. Then they really replaced it with Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains are a great band, by the way. It's not only that affects. I mean, it affected everybody. It wasn't just. I'm sure like Grim Reaper probably couldn't get shows, or just all sorts of. I mean, just any kind of band that was metal in the 80s, in the 90s, had to either kind of do like the groove metal thing, like a lot of the thrash bands did, or go full alternative. And then some of the bands, a lot of bands broke up, and then they did like these projects that were alternative. I remember reading about all these guys, like these thrashers in the 80s, that would do that. A band that actually played metal in the 90s, like as they did in the 80s, would, they play like smaller clubs and stuff and lose a lot of revenue. They would lose a lot of revenue. And, when they're used to like, when they have a lifestyle that they're used to, and they're having to sell, all their stuff or whatever, it's definitely not just it's not just hair metal bands that did that too. Of course, in Europe, metal seemed to be not thriving, but there was a lot more bands and a lot more of a scene in the 90s than in the United States. And that's why in the United States it really sucked. It was really bad. I mean, I remember like trying to jam with people in high school and stuff when I was in high school. And, just a lot of that type of thing just was like, oh yeah, metal, And people had the wrong impression about it too. And they had a lot of stereotypes. I mean, now it's such a better time because people like, everybody like I talk to that's younger than me still, they may I like Iron Maiden. No, I'm not that into metal, but Iron Maiden's great, or this is great, or it's like back then it's like so tribal. It was so tribalistic. Like if you were metal, oh, you're into metal. You're that white trash music, driving a Camaro. You're a Häxor. That's how it was. There was a snooty element to a lot of those alternative rockers and those grunge rockers. Like they definitely listened to metal because you could tell in the music there was some metal in there a lot of the time, like Soundgarden, or someone like that. But they would make fun of it and say it's, and just like bash it too at the same time. And so when Eddie Vedder is saying the stuff about Mötley Crüe, when I hear it, it's like, okay, yeah, I can make Mötley Crüe. It's a joke at this point. look, I'm just going to be straight up, okay? I like Nikki Sixx. I think he's an interesting guy. I like, that he writes these books and stuff. And the first 6 a.m. is pretty cool in some ways. It's like an I almost would say it's like a post grunge modern rock version of Sabotage, like in a way. Like, I kind of liked it. So I like the concepts that he comes up with sometimes. Now, Motley Crue as a band, you watch the clips with Vince Neil. It's meme worthy. It's a joke. Okay, I'm just going to flat out say it. It's a joke. You can't watch Motley Crue and take him seriously anymore. It's a joke. Seeing him mumble his, the words Vince Neil, it's a joke. They should have retired for, they should have broken up years ago, in my opinion. And their material since, I'm not a big fan of anything past Shout at the Devil. Straight up, I'm not really a big fan. Theater of Pain had its moments. Dr. Feelgood and Girls, or vice versa. Girls, and Dr. Feelgood had their moments. The 94 album is a little bit too hyped. It has a cult following that, hypes it up a little too much. I do like it with John Corabi. But other than that, Saints of Los Angeles was like, and you look at the problem I have with Motley Crue is that they can't just, it's a band like that can't just lay back and just write songs all by themselves without anybody, any outside songwriters. It's like they can't just like kick ass in a garage and write new songs. They have to have this corporate kind of shit involved with their music now. It's like you look at who wrote the songs on Saints of Los Angeles, and half the time it's not even the members of Motley Crue. I just hate that. Same happened with Scorpions too. However, the new Scorpions, other than like 1 or 2 songs, is written by all the members of the band. I mean, there's a couple, there's like 1 or 2, maybe 3 songs that have outside songwriters, but like this outside songwriters, which is the Viagra for over the hill rock bands. That's what I consider it, like musical Viagra. Like, you have to get Diane Warren and Desmond Child to come in and save our careers. I'm talking about Aerosmith, of course. We got to get all these outside songwriters and these producers to help us revive our career that we had in 1975, and when we sold millions of records. It's like, fuck you. Why, this is a little bit of a rant, I'll admit. It's like, why do you have to do that? Why can't you just go back and just kick ass? Why can't you just like get in that mindset, model that mindset, that you used to have when you were hungry as a band? Even Metallica doesn't use outside songwriters. A lot of their modern stuff I don't really like, but at least they're not going to go out and say, we have to get this songwriter to like get us a hit like we used to have, or, get us a, it's just, it's really foolish. And I hate that Motley Crue had to do, it's humiliating that Motley Crue, I consider their first 2 albums just like, godly as far as like that style of music. I think it's like the best stuff. Other than like Appetite, if you want to count like sleaze metal, hair metal, sleaze rock, or whatever, rock and roll, 80s, whatever you want to call it, I'd say that and Appetite for Destruction are just like that's the monolith of that style of music. But no, we have to get outside songwriters to help us, and we have to like pretend we're a real band when we all hate each other, and then have this clownish like alcoholic whale come out on stage and like completely butcher our song, the songs we've been doing for 40 years or whatever. It's like, and it's so foolish because, and Vince Neil has improved in recent months a little bit at the live stuff, but it's like, it's so foolish because people eat it up. It's like, I'm going to go to the Motley Crue reunion tour, man. So that, in that sense, I agree that Motley Crue needs to be made fun of. But as far as like in the context of like Eddie Vedder making fun of 80s metal bands and 80s metal excesses, like, dude, I mean, it's just like you're giving credence to Eddie Vedder is like, part of the grunge scene, right? I mean, he came from San Diego and he was kind of emigrated to Seattle, but you're giving credence to the grunge scene, which glorifies heroin abuse, basically. And I love a lot of grunge, even the stuff that does that. But and heroin, and I mean, how ethical can you be when heroin has been used in all these wars and all these, possibly, I'm not going to try to get conspiratorial on this, but intelligence agencies have used the heroin trade, possibly. It's like, okay, oh, you're so much better than this guy. It's sexist because he has groupies. Oh my God. Oh, Motley Crue was probably, his wife or whatever. Motley Crue probably, he would probably, what was the joke I said? Eddie Vedder is probably washing dishes on a Saturday night for his wife's boyfriend. That's how much of a, I'm going to say the word and don't associate this with, just associate this with modern vernacular because I use it because I think it's funny. I don't like the origins of it, but people on all sides of the political spectrum say it now, so I'm going to say it. He is a cuck. I mean, it's just like this is just so stupid. Like, oh, I'm Eddie Vedder, I'm so great, But at the same time, I'm sure Pearl Jam's albums past verses, which I haven't really explored Pearl Jam since the 90s, honestly. Other than, actually I got into 10 a couple years ago because I do like the first album, but their albums are probably way better than Motley Crue's as far as quality. I'm sure there's a lot of interesting stuff they've done. It's probably not my thing, but past 10 and verses and stuff, like if you want to talk about like two albums, like Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil, and Too Fast for Love, just a lot of filler, and overrated Dr. Feelgood, I'm just, oh man, I'm really getting opinionated when I didn't want to be this opinionated in this podcast, but I'm going to do it. I don't care. Ralph Vieira can get away with it. I can. Okay, fine. I'm not going to be as like hardcore as him, though, to be honest with you. Otherwise known as Dr. Fuck, because very popular metal I don't know what I would call him, metal critic, I guess you'd call him. So, yes, I don't think this feud between the two, I think it's entertaining as fuck. I want to see it heated up, honestly. It sounds really bad, but I want to see Eddie Vedder shoot back at Nikki Sixx. It's just entertaining in this kind of like this way of just like this train wreck, that you watch. It's just like so stupid. But yeah, both Motley Crue and Pearl Jam have their moments, and obviously I really love the first two Motley Crue a lot. I like the first Pearl Jam album. I don't really like much after that, but I think probably as far as a critical standpoint, Pearl Jam probably wins. Their albums past their first two albums are probably good, whereas Motley Crue, there's a lot of, it's kind of hit or miss. Dr. Feelgood, I never liked most of that album. Just songs like Same Old Situation, or like, it's just like, it's better than Poison. Okay, I'm going to say that. I mean, it's better than some of the bands that came out back then. And my God, is it good to have an opinion on this? I don't know. But to me, it's better. Okay, I'll say my opinion is that I like it more than Poison. Okay, I'm just going to try to be a little more objective. But overall, I do not think that it's to the level of quality of those first two albums. A lot of people say that about Guns N' Roses as well. Like, oh, Use Your Illusion sucked. But Use Your Illusion, I think Use Your Illusion was actually pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. Maybe not up to the standards of Appetite. But anyways, I'm going to stop talking about that type of LA stuff. And we will go to our interview that we did with Damien Cage, and I'm going to leave it at that. Hi, this is Mattowarrior's Metal Madness. We're speaking with Damien Cage of the band Haxör Stava. Is that how to pronounce it?
That is how to pronounce it, Haxör Stava.
Oh, I got it?
Yeah, you got it.
Cool, okay.
Sometimes it's Haxör, sometimes it's Haxör. The funny story about that was in 2014, I just couldn't find a name for a band that wasn't original, And I thought, Witch's Spell, that sounds like a cool name, and I said, let's Google translate it into something else, into like Swedish or something, and that's what came back, Haxör Stava. Of course, we've been told that that's like a mistranslation, it means witch's spelling, but to me, the name sounds cool, so I'm like not getting rid of it.
Yeah, I saw that kind of debated on YouTube a little bit.
Yeah, someone was debating on that.
Well, one of the first things I noticed was the great production. I mean, a lot of bands nowadays it's just really hard to. A lot of more underground bands, I don't hear anything that's super clear and cutting like that. So, I mean, how did you get such a well produced like EP so early on?
Well, as Frank Zappa would say, you pay for it, you pay them. We went to we're based in Southern California, and we had been going to this rehearsal studio called the Riff House for like several years, and eventually it was someone moved in to start recording, and his name was Adasi, and then we introduced ourselves and we said we would like to work with you, and he said great, cool, and he had like his own like mini soundboard thing. I'm not that versed when it comes to recording technology, but that's where all the production comes from, and the drums were just fantastic.
So who was in the band exactly, and what do they do?
All right, so there's me. I'm the bassist and co-founder. There's Nick. He's the lead singer and other co-founder. As of the moment, it's just us two. I do the bass, the guitars, but I'm mainly bass. I play the bass live and all of that. That's really just it. We hire out other members when we when we put on performances. We got tired of. We've been around since 2012, and we got tired of looking. We spent the latter part of a decade looking for band members, and it just never worked out. So we're at the point in our lives now, like, hey, we have the means to do it. Let's just hire out some guns. And I really think that by taking that approach, the direction of the band, when it's just two people who have a clear vision, it really comes through better.
Yeah, it definitely does.
You don't have too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah, that gets a little crazy at times. Yeah, I have my own solo project I've been doing for a long time. I'm trying to get members, and it's just a pain in the ass. So thankfully, I might have a live band of some sort soon, but yeah, I know how it is. So speaking of California, so I've heard of a lot of these bands coming out, like Fortress, and there's a lot of other traditional metal bands that are coming out from California. Is there some type of, do you think there's some type of a new wave of something going on, or what's the deal with that?
Well, there was, and I don't know, I believe it's still going on, something called the new wave of traditional heavy metal. And there were several bands in like in the early 2010s that were blowing up. Like, I don't know if you've heard of Night Demon or Spellcaster or Blade Killer. They were all coming out of like the Southern California area, and that's where we took root, because originally me and Nick conceptualized this as like just another thrash band, right? Basically, like we worship Testament and Overkill. Let's be a thrash band. But we heard these other bands, and I'll never forget. It's 2014, the summer of 2014. We see this band, Night Demon, and we're like, that's what we want to do.
That's awesome.
The new wave of traditional heavy metal.
Yeah, I noticed you're on that page. It's a pretty popular page. Like me and my friends are always sending me links on there. So how did you establish yourself on there, on the YouTube channel?
So what happened with that was Nick became acquainted with the guy who runs that channel through Facebook. And we said, we love what you're doing. We love all the posts that we would like to post one of our songs. And he said, okay, sure, cool. I need $12 or something to that amount. And he posted it, and it got a great reception, because we were going from, like, I think if you look at our YouTube views, we have like maybe 500 per video or one or two videos, but in a month or so, we had like 5,000, 5,500 viewers, and we had comments, and it was like, wow.
Yeah, it's an amazing page. I mean, I've been buying some CDs from there too, like the Fortress one, and a lot of people are really talking about that page, or I should call channel. It's a YouTube channel. But so tell me more about the lyrical process. I noticed there's a lot of lyrics about the occult, and what influences you as far as writing the lyrics?
That's a very, very good question, Matt. What influences me? Lyrics has always come naturally to me, and the occult is just such a fun thing to explore. There's so many perspectives and angles, and I really think it pays tribute to like the whole satanic panic of the 1980s, where that's what a lot of the bands were doing, regardless if they're heavy metal or they're thrash metal or so on and so forth. The lyrical process, it's just I'm trying to be as poetic as possible, but catchy at the same time. I know there are some things like on the song Melina, there's this one lyric that goes, "What shallow soul shall reap," and I was so proud of that lyric because not only does it sound awesome, it's hard as hell to pronounce if you try and say it fast. "What shallow soul shall reap," like that, and the amount of time Nick spent trying to get that just right in the studio, I just thought that was awesome. So, make him work for his job too. There sometimes we can be fun, like we're a majority of the occult based lyrics, but we have some other lyrics that aren't so occult. I want to say that's just, I'm trying to think. It's just a fun area to explore.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I noticed a lot of Maiden and maybe even Merciful Fate. But tell me about some of your other influences or influences in general.
No worries. Number one is Night Demon. We are Night Demon. We are the bastardized child of Night Demon, basically. If it wasn't for Night Demon, there would be no Haxör Stava. Merciful Fate is a classic one. Venom. We like Megadeth. Testament, definitely Testament. We like Creator, especially the more melodic stuff that Creator does, because we like that edge, but we need to be, I love the heaviness and Nick loves the melody, so we need that melodic edge. So we find influences like some melodic death metal bands like Amon Amarth, Arch Enemy, Maiden, Accept, Priest. There is this one great thrash band called Paradox. And another key influence was the early Blind Guardian sound, where they were on the brink of something, like they were discovering this whole brand new genre called power metal, but they didn't really know the limits or boundaries of what it could do, and they ended up sounding a little more heavy on those first two records than they did on their later records, and we really liked that. We wanted to bridge the gap between like power metal, traditional metal, and thrash metal. If we could just get the best of those ingredients and put it all together. Like, okay, we like the riffs from thrash metal, right? We like the speed from thrash metal. We love the melody from power metal. We love the heaviness of heavy metal. We don't like the vocals that much from thrash metal, but we like the vocals from power metal, or we like the vocals from heavy metal, and so on and so forth.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love Blind Guardian. I saw him, seen him about 3 times, I believe.
Such a great band.
Yeah, I'm not as keen on their newer stuff, but
yeah, they're
6 or 7.
6 and 2010 one. I was not the fan of I think they were more on track with the 2015 release, but you can't beat their late 80s, early 90s stuff.
But even like their bad albums are just like much better than a lot of metal bands.
It's killing everything that everyone in the underground right now. You couldn't touch Blind Guardian.
Yeah.
But we tried to listen to like a majority. You were talking about the new wave of traditional heavy metal albums page on YouTube. That is where we find a majority of the music that we listen to, pretty much outside of the big names that everyone already knows, like Blind Guardian, Accept, Maiden.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're one of my favorites. I was going to get the tattoo of the Imaginations, the lute pretty soon. So.
Oh, nice.
Very big fan of them. So, how did you get into music exactly?
Okay, that's a very, very good question. Music had always been around in my life as growing up, but I never really paid attention to it until I was bitten by the rock and roll bug. My first band, my gateway into it was Kiss and Black Sabbath. I saw Gene Simmons spitting blood, playing bass. I'm like, boom, that's what I want to do. And it just evolved from there, getting into heavier and heavier bands, getting into Metallica, then you get into Megadeth and Slayer, Iron Maiden, not necessarily in that order, but once I discovered Iron Maiden, I was like, he plays bass. You can write songs on bass. You could be a bassist and write songs and do all these cool things. You don't have to be a flashy lead guitar player and all that. I said, this is my guy. I want to do what he does.
Oh yeah, definitely. Or Joey DeMeo or
Yeah.
Lemmy,
Dee Dee Verney.
Even Nicky Sixx, even though he doesn't really play that well, but anymore. Maybe on the first album, I don't know, maybe. But
yeah. Actually, to be honest, I'm not too versed in Motley Crue. I know Shout at the Devil and I know Girls, Girls, Girls. Oh, I don't have an accurate consensus on whether I like them or not.
Oh, Too Fast for Love is really good, especially the original demo mix. It's just really raunchy and raw.
I do love the glam metal. There's a lot of awesome stuff going on with glam metal right now, particularly in Sweden. I don't know if you've heard of this band, Crazy Licks.
Oh yeah, I just bought their album. Their new album. I really like Heat a lot, so that's my favorite. Probably my favorite band right now is Heat. So,
wow.
Yeah, their last album, 2020, was amazing. But, yeah, I'm really into that stuff. So.
I neglected to mention this earlier, but another one of our major influences would be X Japan.
Oh, absolutely. I love X Japan.
Hide is, I fail horribly at guitar, but that's my guitar idol. If I could be a guitar player, I'd want to be Hide. X Japan, and we do I like some more progressive stuff like Dream Theater or Opeth to get those ideas just flowing, where what we're doing right now is we've developed, you could say, we have our own sound, but we want to push that further, and we want to explore more things, whether it be the increase in musicianship. It's like a learning process and a growing process. So going from what we did originally, because originally we recorded 4 songs from 2017 to 2018. And then in 2019 we recorded 2 more songs. But due to the shutdown and everything, we didn't end up getting those back till late 2020, so we didn't release them until 2021. But as you can tell, those 2 songs were Till Hell Calls Us Home and White Widow. Those 2 songs are, in my opinion, such a vast step up from where we were originally.
I really like White Widow a lot. So
yes, everyone loves White Widow. We were actually contacted by Scarlet Records, and they were interested in Haxör Stava, and it was because of the songs Melina and White Widow. And those are my 2 favorite Haxör Stava songs to this day. I think Melina is the most personal to me.
Okay. What's that all about?
Okay, well, there was this girl a long time ago that I was infatuated with, named Melina, and I had been reading all about the occult, Aleister Crowley, and I don't know if you know the writer Alan Moore.
I do, yeah.
How we speak and how we create by speaking. This is magic. We are hypnotizing. We are casting spells by speaking in reality. I thought it was just fantastic stuff. So I said, okay, I'm going to get this girl. This is going to be my spell. I'm going to cast it. I'm going to happen. Obviously it didn't, but I got a great song out of it, and I just love that song so much. White Widow is, I don't really like to say the meanings behind songs, because I like everyone's opinion to be valid and everyone to take their own interpretation out of it. So that's like art. But White Widow was sort of more based on a tongue-in-cheek joke more than anything.
So, do you have a kind of a live show in mind, or have you played live at all? How was the pandemic?
We are working on that. We're in the process of, we've interviewed a couple of musicians, and now our next step is to audition them. And we're looking on starting playing our first couple of shows, because originally we were just a recording project, but me and Nick decided that, there's really something to the power of live music. And like, what it was once we got that feedback from when White Widow first released on the new wave of traditional heavy metal albums, and people started liking that, and you said, maybe we might have something here. Let's give it a shot. So we're working on that right now.
That's awesome. Do you think you're going to do something really theatrical or just more stripped down?
At the moment, it's probably going to be theatrical, stripped down, but we're going to explore our options and experiment. It's going to be a lot of trial and error, but I would like it to be theatrical. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be really cool to see that on stage, because a lot of people criticize the theatrical stuff for so long, but it's like I feel like it's making a comeback. And
yeah,
I'm not like the biggest fan of Ghost, but it's cool that like.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree with that. I think honestly, I like one song by Ghost, and that was the newest song they did for the Halloween Kills movie. I was never a fan of Ghost, but I every time I go into Hot Topic, I don't, but I'm like, I would buy a Ghost shirt. I think Ghost is like a marketer's dream. They're awesome in the sense, like I said, I don't really care for their music, but the way they branded themselves and what they're doing with the theatrics and all that, I think that's totally awesome.
Oh, absolutely. So if you could pick 5 albums that are totally underrated, what would you pick?
Totally underrated? Okay. All right. 5. That's a good question. You really caught me off guard with that one. It's a really awesome question too. 5 that are totally underrated, like criminally underrated. What? I really believe that Somewhere in Time never got its fair shake or due because it was right in between Power Slave and Seventh Son, and they're all amazing albums. But to be, you're following up Power Slave, the World Slavery Tour, and all that, but then you're followed by Seventh Son. So I would say number 1 would be Somewhere in Time, which is my second favorite Maiden album. Another one that, oh, goodness, underrated. I believe Under the Influence by Overkill is underrated. I don't really. A long time ago, they called it the Big Four: Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica, and Slayer. And now I was just reading the other day that it's the Big 8 now, but I can't remember. I think it's Exodus and a couple other Bay Area bands that are in there. And I'm like, to me, there really never was a Big Four in the sense that, like, okay, Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer, these are all my bands. I listen to them all, but my Big Four would be Testament, Overkill, Creator, and Megadeth. I believe Endorama by Creator is actually underrated. I know it's a little out there for a couple of the people. So we have Somewhere in Time, we have Under the Influence, we have Endorama. I got 2 more.
Yeah, I think those experimental albums are cool. So
I really enjoy Turbo Lover. A lot of people not too big of fans on that. And I'm going to go with I don't want to say it's pretty obscure, but I think it's obscure. Asylum by Kiss. That's such a great glam metal album. It has so many hits, and they never play anything from it. That is the one thing that inspires me most about Kiss, in the sense of something I don't want to do. I don't want my band to be that band where we have these 4 or 5 songs, and those are the only songs we play until the end of time. No, I want to try out the new material. I want to just keep moving forward. You keep a couple classics, obviously, but I don't want to be that band that just becomes a roadshow antique, as Bruce Dickinson put it, antique show where you just bring it back and you do the same thing over and over again. No.
Yeah, it gets pretty annoying. I agree with that. So any plans for like a full-length album? Soon?
We've been discussing it. It always just comes down to discussions between me and Nick, and sometimes it can be a little. Earlier, I said it's better when you have one clear direction for the band when it's only two people. But on the other edge of that sword, it could be very. It could slow you down in a couple ways because if each person has 50% power, you can't come to an agreement. Things sort of tend to slow down. We're on the track for doing a full length. We have the songs. We just don't have the people to record it with yet, but we're still hammering out the songs that we do have. So you could say we're like in a pre-production mode or a pre-production mode for an album.
That's
But,
cool.
Outside of metal, I love various other genres of music, as probably anyone would. I'm actually a huge fan of K-pop, and so is Nick. And I really like what they do with their marketing, their model. I like how they have these like mini albums, but they're like booklets, and they have all sorts of things. So that's what me and Nick would be looking into. Or how can we up these small amount of songs? How can we make it even better for the fan to have something to take home and look at, and something, I don't want to say interactive, but something more bang for your buck.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
these guys are cool, and oh, I know that band. Oh, that's Damien, and oh, that's Nick, and so.
So do you still like physical releases, or do you stick to streaming or downloads and stuff?
I love physical releases. Just the ability to hold it, and that's something me and Nick have been talking for a long time. We just wanted to, originally, like I said, we were a recording project. We just wanted to be able to have that digipack or that CD and hold it in our hand and go, look what we have done.
Yeah, it's a great feeling.
Yeah. We're not there yet, but we're hoping to get there pretty soon. We're also working on merchandise right now because we get hit up, not all the time, but a couple of times from mainly fans in Europe, and I'd call them fans because they say I like your music and I'd like a T-shirt or I'd like a CD. So to me, I consider that a fan. We're T-shirts. We're collaborating right now with a couple of freelance artists to come up with some T-shirt designs because we'd really like to get those going along with the EP. The EP was just released on YouTube, so it's funny. We sent the EP, The Witches Gather, it's called Riff of Metal. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a blog post. They do it in English and in Spanish. And they did a review of Witches Gather. And the first thing, if you look it up, it's the most hilarious thing. It says, heavy metal, power, speed, cleanliness. I don't know if that was a commentary on the production values but you don't necessarily attribute cleanliness to heavy metal when with your concurrent associations.
So, like, back to the songs, I noticed that We Want the Metal, it's kind of like a Priest or Manowar or even like Scorpions vibe. It was that kind of a departure from the thematic
okay,
stuff that you're talking about?
Can I tell you a story about We Want the Metal?
Oh, sure.
This I'm kicking myself till this day. So We Want the Metal was 100% Nick. Nick wrote that song. Nick wrote the melody, chords, riffs, lyrics. That's all Nick's song. We have another song called Spellbreaker because we needed one more song. So I came up with Spellbreaker really comparatively fast. And I wrote the lyrics and all that. And then Nick added some harmony. After the song was done, Nick added some harmonies and he played the solo on it. And Nick loves that song. Nick, I would say, outside of White Widow, Spellbreaker is Nick's favorite song. I cannot stand that song. I kick myself every day. I say, why couldn't I have written We Want the Metal and Nick wrote Spellbreaker? That is one of my favorite, most dearest songs is "We Want the Metal." I cannot wait to play that one live.
Oh yeah,
Everything you said it is. It's that anthemic. It's that Judas Priest take on the world. It's the Scorpions rock you like a hurricane. It's Mattowarrior. It's just, I love that line. Scream out with power. We want the metal. Keep on rocking. Never surrender. Now is the hour. Unleash the devil. I love it.
So how did you get, as far as the artwork on the cover of the songs and the EP and everything?
So we have two artworks. There's the original artwork, which we got through the person who produced, Adasi, the person who produced the EP. And we weren't too happy with it. So the one you see on, you've seen our page on our post, our White Widow on the new wave of traditional heavy metals, correct?
Oh yeah.
That, we got that from a freelance artist. I came up with the concept. I wrote all these things out and we sent it to him and he came back with that and we're like, we love that. So that, in our opinion, is the valid, canon, true Witches Gather EP cover. So I believe the other one was just, it was made by some graphic designer and he was taking the most basic heavy metal, what's the word? The most basic heavy metal images one can conjure and smashing them, slapping them all together. I believe like there's some skull guys, there's a guy with a hood and all that. And like it has nothing to do with witch. There's not a single witch on that cover.
Oh yeah, definitely. So how have recent world events the past few years affected the band's progress?
Well,
without getting into too much opinions or anything, just a general question.
Oh, no. Well, another rule we have is, I have my own political views. Nick has his own political views, but Haxör Stava is not the band to make social commentary or any political views because we're not about that. We believe that music encompasses everyone and it can inspire all things and all people. And it's released to some, it can be annoying to other people, it could be whatever, but we're not trying to tell anyone what to do or what. You know, we're like, we take the Cannibal Corpse approach, like, we're like a horror movie. Come and see us for fun, for the adrenaline, for the shock. That's what we're trying to do, not in the sense that we're trying to be that as brutal as that or as vile or creepy, but we're just released, man. It's just music. So, and that is something that tends to bother me about a lot of these, modern era thrash bands, that they're making all of this social commentary like Havoc. Oof, Havoc is my nemesis. Nothing against the guys. I don't know anything about the guys, but I'm not a fan of that band.
Yeah, I think in the 80s, like, a lot of the lyrics are pretty socio-political, but it wasn't like, even like Napalm Death, super political, but like, it doesn't have this kind of smugness to it that sometimes it happens nowadays. It seems like
there's definitely a smugness because when we're looking for band members, but this is before we decided, we're just going to hire people. There have been a lot of band members who have basically, I'm not going to name names or say anything. I'm not going to name their names or who they believe in, but their gist was, we believe in this, and if you don't believe in that, then don't even talk to us. So, and I don't like that discord and dividing like that. People should be they're entitled to their own opinions and beliefs and all that, but you can't just deny someone's opinion or existence just because they don't believe in what you believe in.
Yeah, I think to me, it's like a level of maturity almost, because I was once that way, like many years ago, probably, but I just I don't know what happened, but I just kind of started to accept people for what they believe.
It is, give me a second here. I have to think. I'm getting old. No, I'm joking. Did you ever watch Futurama?
A little bit.
No. Well, there's a great quote by one of the characters, Zach Brannigan, where he says, "We know nothing about their language, their history, or what they look like, but we can assume they stand for everything we don't stand for. Also, they told me you guys look like dorks." It's like,
That's so true. So I did notice your band is absent from Metal Archives. I don't know if there's a
You
if
know
that's
what?
because it's
I'm so glad you brought that up. How Metallum, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How does one even go about? I know, don't you have to submit it and it has to be reviewed by, I don't know how they run that site, but that is something we have really dropped the ball on. We would really like to be on that site.
Yeah, I mean, you have to I used to have to have a physical release. I believe now, I think you could probably use your SoundCloud to say that you have a release, or maybe even YouTube now. So probably want to add that because I did notice that. So,
Yes.
but yeah, that's I think to me it's important to be on there in a way. Then important to not be on there if you're certain types of music too. I guess.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, I guess what do you think of the more popular types of metal nowadays, or the more commercial stuff?
You mean like the more modern stuff, like the gent and the all that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, as my dad says, everything has its purpose, and I think it's great that this is inspiring kids to pick up guitars and get into metal and all that, because it's a domino effect. Once you get, well, I don't necessarily say it happened to me like this, because I sort of started from the very beginning. Like, I got into Kiss and Black Sabbath and then slowly worked my way up. But you get into something like who who's one of the modern metal band? Like, give me a name.
Periphery. Single
Periphery.
Tab.
Right. So you have Periphery. You go into Periphery, you take a step back, boom, you're into Dream Theater. You go back. Now you're into Rush. Now you're into Maiden. Now you're into and so forth. So I think it's a great way to that, even though it might not be at the beginning, it all cycles back. So I'm not necessarily, I would say, per se, a fan. I don't think the Stava sound would go in that. We like to do that 80s traditional metal and like that border edge, like thrashy power metal that was like there for a couple of years. That's more our focus. The screaming vocals, awesome, but totally not our thing. We love the melodic vocals. We love the occult lyrics. Which is not to say that we're a one trick pony. Though that just happens to be the most fun, and like how can we do it more, or how can we top this? Um, the third metal bands, I can't really say much because I don't really listen to the gent, or that's what it's called, right? Gent.
Yeah, there's gents and there's. I don't think metalcore is as much of a thing now,
Okay.
but sort of is.
Yeah, I was never a fan of any of the cores, the deathcore, the grindcore, the metalcore. No.
It's attack.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. You know who I don't know if you know who this is, but I watched there's a channel on YouTube called the Punk Rock MBA.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Finn McKenty. He's opened my eyes to some bands that I've never known, and that I still won't listen to. But
No, I was just mentioning them as a joke, kind of attack.
yeah, but they're the ones that did that weird jumping thing, right, in the music video, and
The crab. I think it's
the
a crab.
the crab. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
but
little getting a little old now too, though. Of course, I don't even know what's popular now. I think it seems like the retro thing is kind of taking off though. So, what do you think of like all this '80s retro stuff, like synthwave and all that?
I think it's awesome. I love it. I love the retro. I love there's a channel on YouTube, New Retro Wave.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. I'm
My
quite a
favorite
fan of a lot of that
genre,
stuff
not
too.
genre. It's one of my favorite decades of music, and they're doing things where it's like, wow. I'm a writer, so I'll just listen to that forever, especially if I want to write like a Blade Runner esque something. Just play that and like, awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
But Stava's mission statement, because we're a nice company band and all that, and we have to have a mission statement, and we have to be. No, I'm joking. is to, get metal into as many kids' hands as possible. Let's bring metal, let's put metal in the mainstream in America. We know the Europeans love it. That's great. I look at comments on YouTube, Facebook all the time. I can understand Europeans love it. South America loves it. Japan can be wishy-washy on it, but Japan loves it too. It's just not in America where metal seems to do any business. And America, as you know, is all about business. And we would like metal to start doing more business because it's mainly just the big bands. And if you're lucky, you get to be the opener of a headlining band, such as like you pray that you get on with like you're touring with Metallica or something, or Megadeth, or Iron Maiden would be the best. But
Oh yeah,
something like it should have its fair shake in America. Metal should have its fair shake and be like to the point it was like in the 1980s, where it was a household common. I know it was glam metal, but it was more. People were more open to it. Now it's just they're interested in less like non-guitar oriented music and all electronic. Not to say that doesn't have its purpose. Like there's a couple bands that I like, or not even band artists as they call them. Like I like Saint Vincent. I like who was the other one? Or was it just Saint Vincent? No, I was thinking of a different time. So
I'd have to check that out if that's like kind of. I like a lot of industrial and synthwave kind of stuff.
oh yeah, industrial. I love God, what's their name? KMFDM.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that they were awesome back. I mean, I still think they're awesome, but I was really like into them in like the early 2010s.
Oh yeah.
I got introduced to KMFDM through the Mortal Kombat Annihilation soundtrack.
Oh
They
damn.
they play on the credits, and I was like, "Yep, all right, cool." And I had that soundtrack as a child, and I always heard that song, the song "Megalomaniac" by KMFDM off their Symbols album, and I couldn't understand a word he was saying. I thought he. I don't know if you ever do this, but sometimes I hear lyrics wrong, or my mind is like, I don't know if it's like lyric dyslexia, but there's a line in that song where the regular version goes, KMFDM, baddest in the, wait, I can't even remember it now. I know he says internal revolution, but when I was a kid, I thought he said eternal ammunition, like infinite ammunition. And then I was thinking about, that how KMFDM was, not to go on to a down note, but people from Columbine were believed to have been influenced by or they listened to KMFDM. So I was like, wow.
Oh yeah. I remember that whole thing going on. So yeah. So as far as like what you were mentioning earlier about metal, I mean, I kind of share that. I do share that, but I also think sometimes it's kind of too safe in a way. But maybe I was just like because I've been into more shock rock lately. But like I just think like I kind of miss the Satanic Panic in a certain way. But even though it destroyed a lot of people's lives and stuff, but just like that shock thing I do like. But
Yeah, and that's how like in the early 90s death metal had played itself out, and then black metal became the new contender because of that mystique and that, ooh, they burn churches, or ooh, they do this, they're killing each other and all sorts of things like this must be crazy. And then you happen to listen to some black metal, and there are some black metal bands that there are some great black metal bands I like I like Dark Funeral and Immortal and Dissection. But a majority of it to me is like I can't understand anything over the blast beats. It's just
oh yeah,
like they recorded in their car or something. Just like, I mean,
pretty
that's
raw.
if you want to do that, that more power to you, but not my thing. But they, like you said, that theatrics, that shock rock, that mystique,
Yeah, I just kind of miss it. I mean, I think it's not like I want people to be really dangerous, but it's just like I want something. Something has to come out that pisses off parents again. But parents are taking kids to the shows that their parents were scared for them to go to as a kid. So I don't know. Maybe that's a stupid wish, but I don't know.
Oh.
So.
Yeah. Well, parents are definitely more lenient nowadays, or they're more chill with their kids. It's more of a, I don't know, it's more of a, they're not really parents, they're just, I'm your older friend that takes care of you.
That's true. Yeah, that's definitely true.
And they allow you to be whatever you want and all that. So I don't want to go on a tangent about my own beliefs, which would be irrelevant to this interview.
Oh yeah, that's cool. It's just sometimes I have this weird, like, it's just.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But it's not really a realistic thing.
Something like, okay, if I understand what you're saying correctly, it's like, there's all this Doja Cat and Billie Eilish and rap and all that. It's like, where's the music that just says, can I curse on here? Or?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Fuck all of that, man. Let's just rock it and show. We don't need your shit. Fuck your fucking corporate sellout bullshit. Fucking fake, artificially depressed, whatever. We're playing real music. We're playing real instruments. We don't give a fuck what you think.
I was reading this article, and I don't really do any drugs or anything, but it's like most musicians nowadays do not do drugs or drink that much even. I was like, well, I mean, I'm old enough to have seen
airplane. You'd have to.
Yeah, I'm old enough to have seen Slash and Duff swear on national television because they were too drunk. But maybe that's what I mean. It's just like I want people to be shaken up a little bit by some music. Not all music has to serve that, but it's just like I just feel like sometimes it's too safe. But I don't know.
And there's the grand irony in that where we were talking earlier about the parents being more open to kids doing things. Somehow, the Europeans embrace metal. Like, it's just like another genre of music, and they're open to it, and you could have so much of a bigger following in Europe than you can as a metal band in the United States. But America is closed off for some reason. It's very conservative about that. It's like heavy metal is still taboo to a certain degree in America. Even though, with the advent of YouTube and all that, you see these YouTube guitarists and all that, and they're playing metal. But they're really playing that modern metal. And, which again, I have nothing against the modern metal. Not my cup of tea, but there's still a taboo about heavy metal. And when I just say heavy metal, I mean that genre of just heavy metal. Let's not talk about thrash, power metal, any of the heavy metal and its various subgenres. There's a taboo about it in America, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think even like more kind of middle of the road people still have like kind of weird things about metal, or they don't really understand it either. Now I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but there is something I've been dying to figure out. I don't have all the answers yet, Matt. I don't. But I want to know, why is it that heavy metal is huge within like the Latin American community, the Hispanic community, but it's oh God, how do you even say that word? Anathema. I just know it because of the band Anathema.
Yeah, anathema to the African American community, and I've always wanted to know why not? You guys, not trying to step on toes or say anything, but rock and roll, funk, all that, pushing music forward and all that. You would think that all music heavy metal, but it's a very taboo. From what at least in my experience, from the people I've asked, it's very taboo, and I still don't have an understanding why people aren't giving me answers. Haxör Stava would like to reach every community, not just in America, but in the world. To quote Paul Stanley, there are no nations, there is no borders, there's only one nation, this Kiss Nation, and Haxör Stava feels the same way. there's one nation and it's Haxör, Stava nation. All bow down.
Yeah, to talk about Kiss, I just wanted to ask you one question about that too, because
Yes.
I am a big fan as well. What do you think of Music from the Elder?
I love that album. I love Music from the Elder. I love Carnival of Souls. I think The Oath is one of the most rocking songs ever. There's two songs on the Elder I'm not a fan of. Just a Boy doesn't do anything for me, and I have an on-again, off-again relationship with Dark Light, but a lot of people don't like the Elder. Some people do like the Elder. I fall into the latter camp. I do like the Elder.
Yeah, same here. It was actually what happened with me was I had stopped listening to Kiss for because I listened to them in the mid '90s because my brother-in-law got me into them, and it was a teenager, and then I just started reading these Gene Simmons quotes. I'm like, and nothing wrong with getting groupies and stuff, but just the way he was bragging about it, 10,000
for you.
And then all the stuff about the money with the reunion and all that stuff, I just was turned off. And then 10 years ago, I was trying to listen to albums the band hated, the band that made the album hated, and that was one of the albums. And I was just holy shit, and it's got me back into Kiss. So I'm with you on that.
You know what I'm really regretting now? I put a Kiss album on the most underrated album. I should have put The Elder. Wasn't even thinking.
It's just a great album. I don't get why people hate it.
Odyssey, Only You, Mr. Blackwell, Escape from the Island. I don't know why, but do you remember the old Fox cartoon, The X-Men?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for whatever reason, that instrumental track, Escape the Island, reminds me of that intro song. I don't know why.
I'll have to listen to that song again and kind of compare them. Yeah, definitely.
Maybe that weird siren noise or something. I don't know. But yeah, definitely. Kiss has a lot of unique gems. You just have to go into those albums that are again, we're talking about taboos, the Taboo albums, like Dynasty, Unmasked, Music from the Elder. Kiss has some really weird, on Unmasked, there's a song called Easy as It Seems, and it's this upbeat Latin rhythm thing. I'm like, what is this? I love it. It's not rock whatsoever, but it's Latin pop. I was like, awesome.
Yeah, that album took me a while to get into. I'm more of a fan of it now than I was. I do like Dynasty a lot, though, even though it's disco. But yeah, it's good.
It is. X-Ray Eyes, Gene Simmons' most ego-inflating song of all time, Charisma.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a great song. Oh my god, That's such an ironic song. But
I played that song before every job interview, so gotta get that zone.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like Carnival of Souls too, because it's that's an album I think is really underrated. It's grunge metal or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I want to talk. Yeah, now that we're on that subject, I'm sorry because I never in my day-to-day life ever get to go, oh my god, do you want to talk about Carnival of Souls? Was never really a fan of the grunge movement, so I could say Carnival of Souls is grunge for people who don't like grunge. You could take it in that way. I just think there's so many great songs on that album, and they've inspired me, and I write to them, I write stories and all sorts of things. Those albums just, I like to take and be inspired and pay homage. I believe there's a lyric, correct me if I'm wrong, you've listened to Melina, right? Yeah.
Yes.
There's a song goes, Lovely Virgin and Lovers for Sight, and the song Naked City, I can't remember what Gene Simmons says, but he says Lovers for Sight, and that's another, I'm going to tell you that because no one is going to point that out. That's a very interesting, when it comes to my lyrical things, because I have these innuendos like that, like Lovers for Sight. The way Nick says it is he says Lovers Foresight, so that could either be foresight F-O-R and then space sight, or is it foresight? Lovers foresight. You see?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I like to do that a lot in my lyrical writing.
Yeah, it's a cool technique for sure.
Oh, the technique of just take old Kiss lyrics and hope no one
yeah
figures it out.
Well, That's funny because I did actually write a song that was kind of based on the concept of the Elder,
Yeah.
and it was like I just kind of made it a little more Viking, but talked about some of the concepts. But yeah, it's
With
good.
the fellowship
Sometimes.
and Brother Morpheus and.
Oh yeah, I didn't include
Speaking
that.
of, just since we're talking about Kiss, and I'm such a huge Kiss fan, I have an original 1996 Alive Worldwide Reunion Tour T-shirt as one of my most prized possessions. I just want to state on the record that Going Blind is my favorite song, and I'm also a filmmaker, and I would love to make that movie about a 93-year-old woman and a 16-year-old girl. A 93-year-old man and a 16-year-old girl. I really think I like Paul's more straightforward, but Gene has some of the weirder ones, and that's what I like. Like I like how Gene. I don't want to turn it into a comparison or whatnot, but I've always been more attracted to Gene. Gene's why I play bass. Gene's one of my huge idols. I've never had. I can't say I've ever had the pleasure or displeasure of actually having met him in real life. I'm terrified. Either go really well or go really horrible.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think like that you mentioned. Yeah, we're talking about Carnival of Souls and Hotter Than Hell, where Going Blind is from.
Yeah.
I almost think a Carnival of Souls was like the their '90s equivalent to Hotter Than Hell in a way, and that's a very controversial thing to say. Other than the grunge influence, I guess. I don't know.
Really? No. I'm very true. You touched my Kiss nerve. Please elaborate.
It was just really raw and like just had that kind of darker, murkier kind of vibe, you know, slower kind of vibe. That's how I saw it. I don't like the production on Hotter Than Hell, but nobody does really. Well, some people probably do, but it sounds a little weird, but.
Yeah, no, it's definitely speaking of, I know they were both released in the same year, the debut album Kiss and then Hotter Than Hell, and it is a radical departure from you have this straight up rock and roll band, and I don't use this word lightly because I barely ever use this word. I don't even know if it is a word, sort of, but like Hotter Than Hell is more like you said, murky, like sludge-esque. Not to attribute it to like sludge metal or anything, but this darker. Just as darker. It's like the Empire Strikes Back to A New Hope. It's just darker, and it's a dark record for them.
Oh,
And then they sort of snapped out of it with Dress to Kill.
Yeah, Dress to Kill is actually my least favorite of the pre-Alive ones. For some reason, I don't know why.
Is it because every minute's like 1 minute long? Every song's 1 minute long?
It's just, to me, the first one has the hooks, and then the Hotter Than Hell has more just like what you're describing, and then Dress to Kill is kind of.
Yeah, because now I'm one of the probably, at least in my mind, I'm one of the, which is all that matters, one of the biggest Kiss fans ever. But correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, because Hotter Than Hell has Hotter Than Hell, Parasite, Strange Ways, Going Blind, Watching You. Yeah. Like all
Yeah, and then Dress to Kill has, what is it? Was it Rock Bottom?
Has, oh God, what's that one song? I've always wanted them to do it live, but we can have a good time even if skies aren't sunny. Love her all I can. Love her all I
can. Yeah. Which Anthrax, I think, did a cover of back in the day.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I've always attributed, okay, speaking of, I don't know. I don't know if you have time for that. I don't know if you have time for my conspiracy theory of rock.
Oh, no. I'll probably do about 10, 15 more minutes.
That's okay. So I I didn't know the interview would come to this place.
It's all good.
Oh, but I want to finish up with what I was going to say about, Dress to Kill. For Dress to Kill, there's a song called Ladies in Waiting. And Gene, there's a lyric, and you move on down the line, the ladies are looking fine. I've always attributed that, like, everyone thinks, like I said, any song is open to any interpretation, your own interpretation. But I don't know if you knew this, but Gene Simmons is a huge comic book fan, or at least he used to be.
Oh yeah, he wrote his own zines and stuff.
Yeah, years ago. I've always attributed, because I'm a huge comic book fan as well, going into comic book shops, when it's Ladies in Waiting, I've always attributed that song to, you're looking at the rack of all your Wonder Woman, Catwoman, Batwoman, and it's like they're just waiting for you to be read. So that's what I didn't take anything. Freud.
That's really interesting because I was just at a comic book store today. Actually, it's funny.
Wow.
But, I never thought about that. I'll have to check that out because I know he's a big comic book fan, old movie fan.
Yeah.
Like
he knew about Diabolique, and I was like, oh wow. Not that I really care for that movie, but that's how I found out about that movie with Gene Simmons. That was on the Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder back in the day. Okay. So, okay. So I don't know if this is going to take up the last 10, 15 minutes. I don't, but I would like to, just while it's on the record, finally get this out. I've told this to my friend who's another huge Kiss fan, and I beat him into submission. He's like, okay, I agree with you. Like, because I'm just so adamant about it. So the album, 1976, Rock and Roll Over. That album, in my mind, is Kiss's hidden concept album.
Very interesting.
My take on that is, and it's pretty dark subject, but I'm just like, I'm taking you on this journey and letting you know, trigger warning. We're going to get dark. Maybe I have a dark mind. Did you ever see the 1972 movie Last House on the Left?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going in that direction with this.
Ooh.
You have I Want You, beginning, opening, song. I have the track listing right here. Opens up, I Want You. Guy sees what he wants, finds it, he's gonna take it by force. Next, Take Me. I don't know if she really wants it or if it's gonna happen in the way she wants it, but there is a lyric in Take Me where the way Paul Stanley says it sounds like he's saying rape me. I don't know, you have to go back and listen to that song.
Oh, yeah. Put your hand in my pocket, grab onto my racket.
I attributed Calling Dr. Love to be more like, this lady is now in therapy because of what has just happened to her, which, she should be. She suffered a traumatic event. Moving on to Lady's Room, she discovers a man who's, again, just wants nothing but, and she's cautious, and she's sort of seen that that's all the men in the world. I don't really have anything to say about Baby Driver. But then you have Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, and that goes back into that thing, sort of like Ladies' Room of that's how men function and that's the way of the world, and she can't be very trusting. And then there's Mr. Speed, where she meets someone that maybe she could be with or have a relationship with, but at the same time he betrays her because, like he said, he's Mr. Speed. That's he was just moving in. He was just what do they call that? Smooth operator?
Yeah.
And then you move into See You in Your Dreams, and I believe in See You in Your Dreams, that, in my interpretation, is the post-traumatic stress, the hauntings of what had happened in Take Me and I Want You. Then you have Hard Luck Woman. So she's at this point in her life where it says, "You're a hard luck woman, baby, till you find your man." She's coming to terms with this, and then ends with making love. Finds the guy, perfect. Does she really know it's gonna be alright or not? I don't know, but she's in the act of doing it. And that's my little tirade on making Rock and Roll Over.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I mean, that's
my opinion is, even in the title, it's like, I used to think, I had no idea what the hell Rock and Roll Over meant, but I've been pronouncing it wrong, like Rock and Roll Over. It's rock and roll over, right?
I believe so. That is probably my favorite. I don't know. I really like Love Gun. I can't decide.
Yeah, I see Love Gun. I no offense to Rock and Roll Over, but I'd take Love Gun over it. Christine 16, I Stole Your Love, which I wish they would play more. Almost Human. Even the Peter Criss song was tolerable. Hooligan. That one has Shock Me. That one has, Tomorrow and Tonight. Got Love for Sale. I love the bass tone on that. Love Gene's vocals on that. Plaster Caster. Then She Kissed Me. It was already a good song. So, I wouldn't say it's, better than the original, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, Almost Human to me is like the most underrated song. And I know Paul Stanley wrote God of Thunder. So that's the irony of Almost Human's almost a better song in some ways because it is Gene Simmons writing that character in a song, but he actually succeeds. So
very, very true. Very, very true. I have to ask you though, have you heard the Paul Stanley version of God of Thunder?
Yes.
I enjoy the Paul Stanley version. I enjoy both. Just like, in my opinion, I enjoy the Detroit Rock City demo more than the actual, what came out. I think that's an even more rocking song.
No, I haven't even heard that one.
Well, you can find it on YouTube. I've spoken with Nick. It's not, I just told him if we ever play Detroit Rock City live, I'm not saying we're ever going to, but if we ever play it live, we're going to play the demo version. We're not going to play the normal version because everyone knows the normal version.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Would love to do some Kiss songs. Tears Are Falling, Who Wants to Be Lonely, their 70s stuff, their 80s stuff, their 90s stuff. Well, they only had 3 albums in the 90s. They had Revenge, they had Carnival, and they had Psycho.
Yeah, and my favorite 80s underrated song was that they did was Sword and Stone. I hope you've heard that.
Yes. Didn't Sword and Stone become I'll Fight Hell to Hold You?
No, it was covered by this band Bonfire on the Wes Craven movie Shocker soundtrack. They did a cover of that.
Okay.
There's a demo on there. It's probably Paul's best vocal.
There we go again. Isn't that interesting? You just said it was on the Wes Craven Shocker, and then I was talking about Last House on the Left.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm probably going to wrap it up. Thanks for the interview. Where can we find information on your band, and what are the? You
guys can find anything on Haxör Stava at our YouTube page, Haxör Stava, HAXOR space STAVA. And if you want to be a little more thorough, you can type in Haxör Stava and type in White Widow or type in Melina, type in Witch's Spell, type in Haxör Stava Spellbreaker, type in Haxör Stava We Want the Metal, Till Hell Calls Us Home. Those are our 6 songs that should pop up. We are also on SoundCloud. I believe we've been trying to get onto Spotify, but it hasn't been working for some reason. But we are on SoundCloud. We are on Facebook, Haxör Stava, HAXOR space STAVA. We are on Twitter at Haxör Stava. That's about it. Hopefully soon to be on Metal Archives. I want to say, because, me and Nick have known each other forever, Haxör Stava began life as Gravecaster in 2012. We became Haxör Stava in 2014, and we've been Haxör Stava ever since.
Shit, something fell. Just a second here. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, something's going on.
So we went from seeing Creator and Accept. They played a show in 2012 at the Grove in Anaheim, and we're like, okay, this is what we want to do. We wrote some songs. They were terrible. I mean, really, really terrible. But that's what you got to do when you're starting out as a songwriter. You got to start writing. You got to be able to fail so you can learn how to succeed. Trial and error, my friend. Trial and error. We had this one song called Witching Child that was legit I don't want to say it was like doom metal, but it was just this one riff variated over and over. And it was the most basic riff. It was da-na, na-na, na-na-na-na. And it was like, and the chorus was like da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. It was horrible, man. Nick had a pretty decent song, called Theater 9, and it was about the horrible tragedy of The Dark Knight Rises in 2012 at that theater in Colorado. But that was a pretty sick song. We were thinking about bringing that one back, actually. But most of them, yeah, we were just, it was more passion than anything. And here we are today, though. We're still together, so.
Well, it's kick-ass stuff. So, yeah, we
Thank you,
definitely.
man. Really appreciate it.